Hi everyone. Uh, so far we have discussed op-amp based circuits like amplifiers, adders and subtractors. There is another very interesting application of op-amp which is called as an instrumentation amplifier. Okay. So far we have discussed a wide range of amplifiers. So what's so special about this instrumentation amplifier? Now, instrumentation amplifiers are used in applications, very popularly in medical applications, sometimes in pressure sensors. Their goal is to amplify very weak differential signals. They have to amplify very weak differential signals in the presence of a very large common mode noise. Right? Any differential circuit, since we have already discussed basics on microelectronic circuits, you take any differential circuit, the goal of that circuit should be to amplify the differential signals and reject all forms of common mode signals. In instrumentation amplifiers specifically, it turns out in many of those applications, the differential signals come with a very strong common mode component. That's what I've shown here. The differential signals are Vd by 2 and minus Vd by 2. This instrumentation amplifier should act like an ideal voltage amplifier. Okay, and it should amplify these differential signals, but it has to reject the common mode signals significantly. So one of the most important properties of instrumentation amplifiers is CMRR. We need to have exceptionally high CMRR. What is CMRR? It's common mode rejection ratio. It's a measure of how well a differential amplifier can reject common mode signals. How do you define that? It's defined as the ratio of the differential gain to the common mode gain. Okay, it's normally expressed in decibel units. CMRR dB, common mode rejection ratio in decibel units, is simply 20 log of A differential by A common mode. I can also express gain in logarithmic units as A differential gain in decibels minus the common mode gain in decibels. So for example, let's take you need a CMRR of 140 decibels. Okay, then I have to or I can let's start with a for example, let's assume the differential gain of a circuit is 40 decibels and the common mode gain of a circuit. So if I apply same inputs at the differential, I apply same inputs at the two input terminals and measure the output, ideally it should be 0, but we will see due to some reasons they will not be 0. Okay, mismatches in the circuits and all that. And in spite of all of that, I need, let's say I have a common mode gain of 60 decibels. Okay, usually it will be a number less than 1, so gain will be minus 60 decibels. Okay, then what is the CMRR of the circuit? It should be 100 decibels. A lot of times CMRR spec is given to us. Okay, usually we need a certain common mode rejection ratio. So let's say we need a common mode rejection ratio of 140 decibels. This is a different example. I'm just telling you guys what kind of common mode gains we are looking at. If you need a CMRR of 140 decibels, say we have a very sensitive signals with a very high common mode components to it, then you need to significantly reject the common mode and amplify only the differential part of the signals. So in such circuits, it turns out, let's say we have a circuit, an amplifier whose common mode rejection ratio is 140 decibels. And if I give you the differential mode gain to be 20 decibels, then ACM, the common mode gain, is supposed to be using this expression. You can use this expression. CMRR is A diff minus ACM. So ACM in decibel units will be minus 120 dB. Okay, it's a very low common mode gain, which should be, common mode gain should be in the order of 10 power minus 6 volts per volts. It's very close to 0. This is the kind of numbers we are looking at. So instrumentation amplifiers are a class of amplifiers. Their goal is to amplify differential signals but completely reject the common mode signals. Okay, so they are mainly used in applications where your input signals, the differential input signals, come with a huge common mode component. Okay, so it will be able to amplify signals but reject the common mode components. Like any amplifier, you would prefer to have programmability in the gain. Okay, you would like to vary the gain of an amplifier. So how do you do that? Let's say we have a very simple inverting amplifier and you want to vary its gain. the gain of an inverting amplifier is given by minus of R2 by R1. So if I were to ask you to give me programmability, as a user I want the gain to be varied, you can fabricate this entire thing, op amp and this resistor inside a single chip, and you can put this one resistor as an external resistor, so that you give it as a freedom for the designer to choose. Okay, you give the freedom to the designer to choose this value of the resistor. So now the designer can choose the right value of resistor to get the desired gain. So here I've attained a programmable gain. Sometimes I can even put a potentiometer and vary the resistor between these two terminals, and then I can have a variable gain amplifier. So programmability is very important. Why programmability is important? This amplifier can be used in a wide range of applications. So we should have a mode by which I can tweak the gain, change the gain. Now keep in mind, these are all analog integrated circuits. So this is an analog chip. So mainly most of these chips come with 8 pins or 10 pins or sometimes 16 pins. So you don't have, you can always ask me, why not have, a digital programmability? Since you guys, we have done with basic courses on digital, anytime you want a programmable gain, why not have 4 or 5 different resistors and have some switch control signals inside? So keep in mind, these are all analog chips, so they don't have this digital programmability available. They will all be mostly analog pins with supply, ground, and maybe some offset correction pins. So that's the kind of ICs we are talking about. So if I want programmable gain, preferably I would like to have the resistor external, and the user can choose whatever value of the resistor he would like to get the desired gain. So we need good programmability. The other important quality, this is true for most of voltage amplifiers, whenever you are amplifying signals with very high source resistance, meaning those signals cannot deliver a lot of power, naturally the voltage amplifier should have infinite input impedance or very high input impedance. So that's a characteristic of any voltage amplifier, and therefore since instrumentation amplifier is a voltage amplifier as well, it also has to meet this condition of very high output impedance. In the series of 1 or 2 lectures now, as we discussed instrumentation amplifiers, we will arrive at the most optimal architecture of op amps. We will build a circuit using op amps that satisfies all these properties. Okay, so that's what we will be doing in these lectures. So let's before I start designing those, talking about those amplifiers, I'll just give you guys a simple example of where would you encounter such circuits. One example is what we call the famous Wheatstone bridge. So Wheatstone bridge, let's say we have a Wheatstone bridge is a circuit where 4 resistors are connected. It's essentially 2 potential dividers, and normally we say that the bridge is balanced if no current flows through a resistor that's connected between the two arms of the potential dividers. Okay, see, if you remove the resistor, these are 2 potential dividers. It's a potential divider to this path and a potential divider. The moment I connect a resistor in between, okay, then of course the analysis becomes a bit more complicated, but the bridge is said to be balanced if no current flows through the resistor R, okay, or let's call it RL, if no current flows through that. So to understand what is the value of the current flowing through the resistor, we can quickly draw the Thevenin equivalent of this block. I can just remove the resistor and find out the Thevenin equivalent. That is, this resistor RL is going to see this entire circuit as a single voltage source and resistance in series. You can easily find the Thevenin voltage for it. You just have to find the open circuit voltage. So let this be the positive and negative terminals. Find the voltage at this point, find the voltage at this point, take the difference. You will get, it's just 2 potential dividers, R2 by R1 plus R2 times VDC minus R4 by R4 plus R3 times VDC. Okay, that's your Thevenin voltage. And the Thevenin resistance is the resistance seen between these 2 terminals. That will be given by R1 parallel R2. So if I short circuit this input voltage source, I will get R1 parallel, which is what I've shown here, but let me just redraw that. So you will get R1 parallel R2, and the other branch you will see R3 parallel R4. Okay, these two nodes are short. You are looking between these two nodes. If you see, if you I mean, how do you find resistance? Just apply a test voltage source and measure the current. Since the current has to return back to the voltage source, it follows KCL. These two resistors are in series, same current flows through them, and they share one node in common. So you can simply say Thevenin resistance will be R1 parallel R2 plus R3 parallel R4. If the bridge is balanced, the voltage at these two nodes will be same. The open circuit voltage at these two nodes will be same, or the Thevenin voltage will be 0. Equating that, we can arrive at this condition. The ratio of the two resistors in the bridge in each arm, R1 by R2, should be equal to R3 by R4. Then we say the bridge is balanced. In some applications, what we normally do is that one of these resistors happens to be a transducer, meaning it converts one quantity. Usually it can be pressure, heat, and these are all different quantities. It will convert it to an electrical from one quantity to a different form. Okay, one form of energy to a different form. So this resistor measures, for example, it can translate changes in pressure to changes in resistor. So if this resistor changes by a small value, let's say by delta, this number can be extremely a small value. In such cases, what we need is an amplifier which can detect these small changes. I mean, I can directly put a resistor and measure the current, but because the resistor is so small, the current flowing, the Thevenin voltage developed will also be so small. So the current flowing through the resistor will be so small to detect. Okay, so obviously anytime any quantity is small enough that it's not detectable, then we have to amplify them. So if you have to amplify them, that's where instrumentation amplifiers are used. So here if you see, I need to amplify voltage signals between these two nodes. At the same time, the bridge circuit operates on some DC voltage source. That DC voltage source can be derived from your 50 Hz supply. So it might contain some supply noise. Now the supply noise will appear at both these points because it sees the same path. It will appear at both these paths. And we would ideally want to completely reject or significantly reject the supply noise component. Okay, so that's what we need to do here. Or there can be additional common mode sources. I mean, supply is one example that I had taken because supply doesn't appear as purely differential here. When you are the probes that are being used can also add some additional usually these are used in, let's say, some sensor applications and all that. The probes can also pick up some noise before they are fed to any amplifying circuit. So you need to reject any noise that comes common to both these paths, has to be rejected fully. Okay, so that's where the instrumentation amplifiers find great applications.